All right, so I'm here today to show you how to use the Winterwell tent stove. When you guys come in, it will be set up with the initial fire in place for you, but this is how I got there. So obviously we have the door, we have the screen in which you can see everything through. This is your little vent. This is going to help with the airflow to keep your fire going. This is really important. This is your damper. When it is like so, the damper is closed. Your tent will fill up completely with smoke if this is not open. So always leave it like facing in the same direction as the pipe. All right, so inside we have very like light wood, right? So this is birch. It's not a hardwood. You'll see a difference between this wood that we use for the stove and the wood that we use out there for the burn pit. Very different. Softwood in here, hardwood out there. You have all of your necessary things to get this fire going back here. I suggest that you get all of those items in preparation, because once this stove is lit and it is hot, it's not exactly the safest idea to try to be traipsing around back there. All right, so I only put three small pieces of wood in here. When you get it going, you can take your little fire stoker and push it back. But to start with, for you guys to see this, you'll see the wood sort of stacked in a way that's helpful for getting it started. I usually put what's called a tumbleweed in here. They light really well, they get it nice and hot, and they get it going. If there's no tumbleweeds available, in the bag with the wood, you'll find little pieces of kindling like this. These are easy to light. I suggest that you pull out the drip pan, and then you can take these and just sort of break them up into smaller pieces and use them in a similar way to the tumbleweeds. So we can take those out, put those over there because we're not going to use that for this example. Place that back up underneath there. This catches any ash or any potential rain that comes down the pipe and might come out if we have a really heavy rain. So you'll just take your lighter, get it started. It'll take a little bit for that tumbleweed to get everything to the right temperature and get your nice fire going there. You can leave it open at this point, just sort of let it do its thing. This way you can watch it a little bit more closely. Once you get it going though, you just close this, leave your vent on, like open. I leave it on the last one so you have the most airflow. On top of the stove you have a fan, and this works by, once the stove heats up, this will actually start to spin and disperse all that heat. You want to keep this up front because the most amount of heat is going to be towards the back of your stove. And we have a little temperature gauge here that tells you where to keep it at. You don't want this in the too hot zone. You really want this in the best zone. So you don't want to get too crazy and put a whole lot of wood in here to start with. You can feed it little by little as you go. Go ahead. Okay, so a few further instructions regarding the stove. You definitely want to make sure that your firewood is pushed to the back. If you don't do that when you first light it, then you could definitely use your utensils like your fire poker or your wood log mover. I do suggest moving more with this than attempting to lift the log pieces and turn them over with this. It can be a little inconvenient. The glass is fragile, so if the fire is too far forward, it can not only blacken it, which is an easy fix for us, we can clean that, but it can also break it. And these little pieces are a pretty penny to replace. It will be a $35 charge if that does happen. Another thing is too, this fan can overheat if it is in the too hot zone for too long. How you know it's in the too hot zone is that we have a heat sensor back here. We have a thermometer back here. We really want to keep it in the best zone. If it gets into the too hot for too long, then things start getting a little crazy.